Hi there, good morning. My name is Father Rayappa Kasi, and today I'm going to talk about making theology in the Christian context. Making Christian theology. Theology is something, it is in our genes, it is in our DNA, and always you must want to make theology. What is theology? It's three things: God, humans, creation. You connect all the three and you get theology. In fact, there are two engines that drive the human evolution. So far, what we are today, only these two engines brought us here. That is religion and science. These are the two engines that drive our human evolution. So religion means theology, and 250,000 years back, I'm talking about Neanderthals. They are also known as Homo sapiens, and they started theology. In archaeology, we find the bones, the fossils of Neanderthal buried with incense, figurines, and artifacts, and small statues of the deities. So they find it in the burial sites of Neanderthal. So we know that Neanderthal was aware of transcendence, about God. There is something beyond humans. So they were referring to a transcendent being. So we can call Neanderthal Homo religiosus, man of religion, theology. At the same time, there was Cro-Magnon, today's descendants of white people, and they were also very intelligent Homo sapien being, and they were relying on science than God. Neanderthal was God-oriented, Cro-Magnon was science-oriented. They invented beautiful spears, stone tools, sharper than Neanderthal. At last, we know very well that Neanderthal was eaten by Cro-Magnon. That is what I read it in the internet. And Neanderthal is the dead end, finished, lost to the planet forever. So theology was defeated, we may say, and science won it. So, but we need to integrate both science and theology. There are so many theologies happen in our human prehistory. One is Neanderthal and Cro-Magnon. The second one is hunters and gatherers 10,000 years back. That's the time humans invented farming. The Ice Age was over. And villages were invented. Green Revolution, farming. And they made theology. They prayed to God for rain. Probably they saw volcanoes and earthquakes and fear. So it's always questionable. Theology was born in freedom or fear. I think fear was the first factor. And we come to Stone Age theology some 6,000 years back. We are talking about Mesopotamia. We are talking about Egypt. They built beautiful pyramids, ziggurats in Mesopotamia, ancient minimums, the culture in Crete, in Aegean Sea. And then we come to Stone Age theology, that is Bronze Age theology, that is some 3,000 years BC. There we find Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. Indians made beautiful theology, Vedas and Upanishads. Such a beautiful art and architecture in Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. The Vedic religions, they named Indra, Surya, so many gods, beautiful theology. And then came Iron Age theology, some 2000 years back. India was great, lot of philosophies, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, all those beautiful scriptures and theologies were made out of them. And I want to tell another thing to you. In 500 BC, it is known as the Axial Age. Axial Age means the birth of religions. We can call it the divergence of religions. Zoroaster in Persia, Buddha in India, Mahavir, Jainism, Confucius, Lao Tzu, prophets Ezekiel, Jeremiah, Ezra in Israel, Pythagoras in Greek. The birth of religions, everything happened between, I would say, 600 BC to 300 BC. Historians call it Axial Age. So Axial Age is known to make brilliant theologies. And then Christ came, the rest is history, and then the Christianity is born. Early church, actually, there was no control. The theology was free. There was St. Paul, there was St. Peter, St. John, and everybody was preaching the good news. So they were making up their own theologies. So there was no control, and everything was free and it was flourishing. In a free environment, everything flourishes. In a controlled environment, I think flourishing struggles. It's a struggle. And that is what happened. Early church flourished until 4th century. In 325 AD, in the Council of Nicaea, that is the first time the control pops up. Arian controversy. Arian was called to explain about his explanation on God, human, and divine nature, two natures. So there was a pretty hard discussion going on. It's known as the Arian controversy. And first time they established a control over theology. Christian theology, as we know, it's always anthropocentric. It's about only humans, predominantly human. Human salvation, human redemption, human development, human future. Everything is about human and human and human. And it is dominion theology. Human is the pinnacle of creation. He is the image of God. And like Genesis 1:26, God made man in his own image, and he is the pinnacle of creation. And actually, we should realize God made man from the dust, from the soil, from the humus. From the humus, humans were made. Humus, human being. So, he is not only imago Dei, he is imago mundi. That means he is from the earth. So, dominion theology always keeps man on the top, and he is given power to exploit and to plunder the earth. That is what we have understood. So anthropocentric theologies are very, very rudimentary, primitive, very rudimentary. And because of anthropocentrism and dominion theology, there were so many disasters happen in the history of the world. Lynn White Jr., in his famous article in 1967, Historical Roots of Our Ecological Crisis, lists that anthropocentrism and dominion nature was the cause for all the disasters in the world, especially crusades, 1 and 2 World Wars, slavery, colonization, forced conversions, poaching, deforestation, globalization, global warming, everything, all the disasters of the 20th century is caused by anthropocentrism. Christianity until 17th century followed inclusive theology. Inclusive theology means we include everything: science, cosmology, botany, geology, Old Testament, New Testament, everything put together. Nothing is excluded, everything is included. So actually, the church was not only theologian, church was scientist, and church had answers for everything. They were doctors, they were engineers, they were cosmologists, they were geologists. Everything was done by Christianity, the Christian leadership. Very brilliant time. Excellent. Some of the greatest theological things were born during that time. And then what happened? Galileo came in the 16th century. You know what? The church was following at the time earth-centered. It was not heliocentric. It was earth-centered. Sun was revolving around the earth. But Galileo disproved it, and there comes a fall. That's the time church woke up. Wow, what happened to our cosmology? It's crashed. It's crashed. And then came Darwin in the 19th century, and we know Bible was teaching everything was created by God. Directly He created animals, He created humans, and He created plants, everything. But Darwin told it is not a direct translation of creation. It is actually natural selection. Of course, God might have created the primitive species, and from that everything evolved, and the human beings are the result of evolution. It is not that God made it directly. So that was another crash for Christianity. It was unbearable, and from that time onwards, Christianity became exclusive theology. Slowly they sidelined everything. We don't want science, we don't want geology, we don't want biologists, we don't want other philosophies. And they began to build a big wall around them, and they were hostile to all other disciplines from that time onwards. And exclusive means they are concentrating only on humans and only on Bible. We don't want to care about anything else in the whole world. So, but people began to make theology, and they wanted freedom in making theology. So many theologians try to do theology in a free environment. That caused friction between church and its members. So the church brought a lot of controlling structures, inquisition, scary stuff, pogroms, excommunication, suspension, silencing. The worst of all is burning at stake. many people, many good theologians were smoked out. Joan of Arc, Bruno. And after burning, the same people became saints after 200, 300 years. The worst form of Inquisition was Spanish Inquisition. You must have heard about Thomas Torquemada. Just hearing his name can give you goosebumps. Such a tyrant. He hunted the heretics and he brought them to justice, and finally they were all burnt at stake. So such a bad time in the history of the church, and Pope John Paul II in the year 2000, he really asked for forgiveness. Pope John Paul II taught courage. Forgiveness needs courage. Forgiving is the virtue of the brave. So he asked for forgiveness. And today, even after the program, or excommunication, or inquisition, today we are in a little suppressive state when it comes to theology. Theology needs a very, very free environment, and it has to flourish. In order to flourish, humans should think in freedom. At least that is what in the 15th and 16th century many theologians thought about it. Martin Luther in the 16th century, John Calvin, they told theology should be born out of freedom. No control is possible. Control is very bad. So, the birth of new religions, they came out from the mainstream Christianity, and they protested against the mainstream theology. That's why they are known as Protestants. They protested. So we need to liberate theology. If it is suppressed, if it is depressed, if it is rationed. So we need, because theology making is something in our genes. It came from, of course, from fear. Then it came to freedom now. So, but still we are maintaining that fear part. I told you in the first place, theology was born in fear, then it became free. And again, it is under fear. It needs to be liberated. Now in the postmodern theology, there are three trends in making theology. One is apologetic theology. What is apologetic theology? It's just defending our own faith. And we fight against heresies. That's what we study mostly in seminaries. Seminary training teaches how to be apologetic, defend our own faith. So we are doing it very well. Everybody does it. Pope, bishops, cardinals, archbishops, priests. We all do it. Every Sunday we defend our faith. Every sermon is apologetic. That is the way it should be. Yeah. So we defend our faith, everybody does it. Every religion does it. The second part is Reconstructionist theology. Today many people, many theologians, especially in the West, and they think that Bible is not interpreted properly. It is very anthropocentrically interpreted. And 2000 years of history shows the Bible, our interpretation did not do good. So many bad things happen. But Bible says good stuff, but we don't know. We misinterpret it. So Reconstruction theology, they think when it comes to ecology, not lots of resources are available in the Bible. That's what they think. Let's turn to Eastern churches like Hinduism, Jainism and Buddhism, there are lots of resources and we can reconstruct the whole edifice of theology. And also reconstructionist theologians feel there are a lot of things should be edited in the Bible. We need to delete some text in order to make sense, a good sense in the future. Especially the Old Testament. One God saving one race and killing other people. Judaism, in order to save Judaism, they have to kill Egyptians, Babylonians. So they think that Bible, the Old Testament, most of the Bible is racially motivated. So in that context, how can we abolish race and discrimination? Because in the Old Testament, God Himself, Yahweh, discriminates. One race, I have to save them, I have to provide them land, this kind of. So many Reconstructionist theologians want to delete some of the portions of the Bible and make it compact and more sensible for the future generations. I think that is too extreme, and it's very difficult to do that, and I don't think people will allow that, and it's very hard. So it's an extreme theology, and doesn't have scope for every theologian, especially every Christian theologian. And actually, there is an edited form of Bible is already available. It's known as Earth Charter. Earth Charter simply takes different beautiful truth from other religions like Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, Bible. They all put together and they made a small Bible for the future generations. It's Earth Charter. And the third one is revisionist theology. That is a good one. What is revisionist theology? Revisionist theologians say that we need to reread the Bible and reinterpret it, because ours is rudimentary theology, very, very anthropocentric, I told you. But now we have to come to a creation centric, probably, come to cosmocentric, cosmotheandric centric, no? Cosmotheandric, that is the word invented by Raymond Panikkar. Cosmos, God, humans. Cosmo, world, theo, God, andric, human. 3 words, so we are all together. So revisionist theology has a better scope, and we need to read it, reinterpret it. So instead of, for example, Genesis 1:26, the dominion text, instead of taking that text, you can come to chapter 2, verse 15. The same God tells, till it and keep it. I am giving this land to you, till it and keep it. So that's the better theology. Even we can come to chapter 9 in Genesis. Noah, beautiful. God makes a covenant with Noah. It is not the human and God covenant, it is about 3 people. God, humans, creation. See, this is a beautiful theology. So I think today we need to come to the new interpretation and taking notice of all our surroundings and context and socio-political problems and everything we have to include when you make a good theology. And there are sources of theology. How many sources we can enumerate? I would say self. You are the main source of theology. Your consciousness. Actually, you have got Dharma built inside of you. Even Asoka the Great, Buddha, and everybody thought Dharma. The Indian old theology talks about Dharma. Dharma means simply truth, it means, or righteousness. So witnessing to the truth, that is the most important thing. Jesus was always talking about witnessing to the truth. That is my Father's business. And that is my business too. And it should be our business. Everyone's business is witnessing to the truth. So that comes from the self. And the second source is Bible. I call it book of words, logos, book of words, word. So beautifully written. It's written by humans, of course inspired by God, but it's only 2,000, 3,000 years old. And it's very anthropocentric. And the third resource is creation. I call it book of works, deeds. Book of works, deeds. So that is the oldest Bible. That is common to everybody. Not only Christians, Hindus, Muslims, and everybody. But the other Bible, the book of words, it belongs to only Christians. And I think these three sources are very important. Self, Bible, creation. And then in order to make a very sound theology, very deep theology, very meaningful theology, we need to include sciences. We have to bring all sciences here and include them. Not only sciences, mythologies, indigenous revelations, poetry, socio-economic, political context. Everything we need to bring in together in order to make a good theology. So Christian theology is very rich and beautifully tailored, and it's a lovely, lovely concepts. And actually the Christian theology drives the human evolution on this planet Earth. Capitalism, because of theology, maybe dominion. And today we need to make theology, taking into account all these resources. And when we make a theology, there are eternally revealed truths, and you can't compromise them. I call them top-down theology. It needs control. We need Pope. The only one advantage in Christianity, Catholic religion, is leadership. One man says, 1 million people are ready to listen. That is the power of Catholic religion. And top-down theology, we need it in order to maintain the structure. In other words, we need control, especially for so many disciplines in theology, like Christology, ecclesiology, biblical theology, systematic theology, dogmatic theology. All these disciplines need leadership or control. So that is the mainstream theology on which all other theologies could be built. So that is the mainstream theology. We need control. That is the foundation, and it stays deeply rooted forever. And we come to another section called bottom-up theologies. That is where lots of freedom. We have lots of freedom there. For example, liberation theology is a bottom-up theology. Eco-theology, we are still making it. It's a bottom-up. Public theology, today many people talk about it. Bottom-up. Practical theology, narrative theology. We can make theology out of it, everything. So this can be termed as bottom-up theology. Bottom-up theologies always derive strength from top-down theologies. We should be always anchored in top-down theology. And bottom-up theologies can make mistakes, can make heresies. We've got so much of freedom. Before, we could make top-down theology. So actually the bottom-up theologies, if they play it right, later on, they will become top-down theologies. So it is ultimately each and every individual country, we supply resources